welcome Red Leaf Retrocast, the streamlined, shorter version these days. But hey, busy guy. Got a lot of sports going on. Got a lot of traveling to do. Getting this out before I head to Philadelphia WrestleMania weekend, where I'm going to essentially all of the women's shows. I'm going to meet some people on the podcast, meet some friends, need to meet for a long time. Very excited. Very excited about women's sports in general. Got the Women's Hockey League. That's actually kind of fun to watch every now and again. We got Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese setting records, ratings, bringing back the game I love. That's the basketball I fell in love with. What a game. What a phenomenal performance by both teams. And poor Haley Van Lith. Feel so bad for her. Can't stop Pistol Pete Maravich out there. Just Caitlin Clark in the modern era. And then the LPGA. 3 wins in a row for Nelly Korda. Boy, has she just been a joy to watch this year. And like I said at the beginning of 2024, and kind of seeing and hoping that we'd get these major players back winning again, with Lydia Ko, Nelly Korda especially, Minji Lee's back in the fold. The women's sports are picking up. And I'm getting back into full-fledged, I'm back into joshi, but it's really just 2 companies. It's very hard for me. Well, I mean, there's still CMLL in their women's division. And particularly one match I want to point out, and I gave it 3 3/4, is from the CMLL Leyendes show, March 29th. The Stephanie Vacker, Zuxis, Huvia versus Catalina, Willow Nightingale, and Tessa Blanchard match. That was good. That's the Stephanie Vacker I like to see. She's much more comfortable in that environment. Catalina is on a roll lately, and unfortunately for those, Tessa Blanchard is still a good wrestler. But boy, oh boy, did I love that match, and I love that show. 1, 2, 3, 4 3 out of 3 rec matches between Cavanario, Verno. And as I record this section, I have already previously recorded the AEW and WCW reviews, which I mentioned I hadn't finished the show yet. I have now finished it, and the Mystico against BCC main event was phenomenal. Really loved that. Went 4 1/4 on that one. And the Dorada Rocky Romero versus Atlantis Jr. Soberano Jr. match also went 4 1/4. Cavanero Verno, I went 3 3/4. So what a fantastic show overall. And the women's match is, I would say it's the second best women's match in North America this year. And I will include Europe in that, because women's matches pretty much are never good in Europe these days, or never make recommendations. Very depleted scene. And it looks like they're all starting to wrestle in North America regardless, so there you go. I would say Tessa Blanchard, Zuxis is still at the top of that list, but not by much, considering what this trios match did. But back to kind of getting back in the fold of joshi. Let's start with Stardom for once. And I'm not going to, well, maybe I'll just do the drops for fun. Well, all right, fine. I'll do it. Here we go. Okay, so Stardom. Yes, that was Julia's older theme, because she's now officially gone from Stardom. By the time you listen to this podcast, she's a free agent, showing up in Noah, possibly hinting at a Wrestle Universe conglomeration there with the Hatman Promotions. Utami, Mirai, Mai Sakurai, and Yuzuki, the rookie, are all joining Hatman Promotions. And then Megan Bayne is a big question mark if she's going to be joining up with them. There's a lot of figuring out what the exact AEW contract is. A lot of things are starting to make sense surrounding the departures of certain wrestlers, a little booking decisions here and there, some things that were said online between whether it's Hatman talking to Tokyo Sports, Bushiroad talking to Tokyo Sports, Sunny on various message boards and Twitter hinting at certain wrestlers behaving certain ways and getting booked. The dots are going on the I's and the T's are being crossed. You can kind of put the math equation together over, okay, Megan Bayne comes into Stardom, gets a title match. She getting this title match at American Dream against Micah. Everything pointing Stardom and Hatman Promotions. We're getting answers without being told anything. Is what's going on there. And because of that, we're getting closure on a lot of questionable shit. Okay? Like where some of these wrestlers are going. Now that we got the wrestlers from Stardom announced on the American show, we can finally put stuff behind us. We're getting the go-away shows between Yuzuki and Mayu Iwatani match from the Cinderella final. We're getting the pushing of young talent that haven't been pushed before, getting into new positions. And there's places to be filled. And one of the more intriguing things that has been said that I haven't heard much people talk about, maybe Alex on Stardom Quest, that isn't on Amazon Music, still peeved about that, is the hint of there's much more wrestlers being signed to the Hatman Promotions than just these 5 people. That's why Megan Bayne has come into question. Perhaps a few freelancers. I'd point to Kazuna Tanaka in Wave as being a prime candidate for that. Because there are going to be talents, I think, from whether it's the freelance scene or various other promotions. Much like how Arzian started, where the scene was very depleted. The scene was down. The economy was down. There's a lot of parallels. And if you're unhappy with your position or your payments or what have you, you're going to leave and be enticed by someone who can give you those things. And you can't blame the talent there. The scene has desperately needed a number 3 or competing number 2 to a different extent than what TJPW gives for a long time now. We're going on 4 years into this. And Wave announcing Catch the Wave with 2 Stardom wrestlers isn't going to change anything. Because don't be fooled, the Catch the Wave tournament is pretty piss poor every year. You might get 1 or 2 matches, maybe, on a good year in some of these days. But case in point, back to Stardom. Now that we have closure, and we feel the closure, we can get excited again for what's happening with the promotion. The house shows have been good. Everything's been solid, makes sense, simple. That's what you want out of your house shows. I say that for the past couple of podcasts now. They're building towards the big shows. The problem with Bushiroad and a lot of these Japanese promotions I personally have are the late announcements of cards. I see no reason why, for example, you can't announce a red belt match against the next challenger if you have 1 or 2 or both of those things already decided. I see no issue with that, but that's also kind of a more American mindset, but sometimes I think mindsets need to be changed. So let's put that aside and compare to TJPW and how they put together shows. I think their builds have been piss poor, but they're delivering on their big shows recently, especially 2024, at a higher clip than Stardom has with their major matches. And I think the couple attendances that we've seen speaks volumes for that. With TJPW being able to have a very solid January 4th show. It's still not to the degree of prior, but with the clear indication of pushing new talent, even though I think they should have done it probably in the last couple of years, it's paying off dividends now with their 2349 number they just got at Grand Princess, their highest ever, and a year-over-year number of plus 700 people. A rousing success for what I still think was a piss-poor build. It's enough for what the fan base wants. In case of Stardom, I think now that we're past the uncertainty of the promotion, even though there was a driving interest of what's going to happen, now that we know what's happening in post, we can get interested in it again, and so am I. What I'm less excited about are now the Stardom wrestlers, instead of boosting up their own promotion, they're now visiting other places and taking away from the shows that we personally want to see. And I think that might hurt the promotion in the long run. Saya Kamatani and Rana Yagami showing up in Wave might help Wave for a show or two, but ultimately they're going to do their sub 200 numbers that they do all year. Is it awesome? I think Stardom is now kind of clipping into the US market as, say, that like Mina Shirakawa on ROH facing Anna Jay. I have no use for those things. Is it something the Stardom wrestlers want to do? Is it going to inevitably lead to Tony Khan and AEW signing a few of these wrestlers? History points to yes on that instance, but will it matter to a market share being increased? I don't think it will. And there's too much evidence to point that it doesn't. Now, personally, since I'm going to some of these shows, that's kind of cool. I get to see the wrestlers live. I don't have to go to Japan for it. That's a bonus for me in a personal sense, but in an overall sense, I would much rather see the house shows continue to build to the big shows with the wrestlers on them rather than not. And then you can get a Momo Watanabe match or a Sai Kamatani match building towards a singles match or tag or what have you. Now, I haven't been able to watch the couple Fallout shows signaling the end of Julia and Utami and Mirai leaving the company. Aphrodite tag match against Crazy Star, I haven't seen that yet. That'll be for the next episode. And if you're looking for the live reaction audio of all of these shows I'm going to, the Stardom show in Philly, the TJPW shows, ROH with the Stardom wrestlers on there, those will be nightly live reactions thrown out on the Patreon, patreon.com/RedLeafRetrocast. That'll be on the Jaguar Nagayo tier, $5. Probably we'll have some guests giving our thoughts over all the shows that we watch throughout the day live. Those will be covered on the Patreon. All right, let's do this. Let's do this really quick. I think I've given some good thoughts here. Oh, attendance for the Cinderella tournament overall. I'm both happy and disappointed in what Stardom was able to pull this year for that. Because you remember last year I came on here and said I think they've done a lot of damage to the Cinderella tournament. And for some reason, the opener is doing better than the final for Stardom now. What do we mean by this? Well, 1,200 last year, 1,000 final. This year, 1,500 opener, 994 final. Could you say that's kind of a margin of error, plus or minus 200? Sure, I wouldn't be married to dying on that hill. I do think they can do better, and I do think, regardless of the result of the tournament being in the positive, I think they've really now established the Cinderella tournament as a under mid-card tournament. I jokingly compared it to like a WWF King of the Ring, where you don't have your main eventers in it. And I think that does hurt the illusion that these people could win. And I do think every now and again, every year or so, you can have a main eventer win this thing. But ultimately, that's not what the Cinderella has ever been established to be. It's about pushing new talent and elevating them. So in the sense of that, they stuck to their guns. They got rid of all these people that they weren't going to book to win anyways. And they have the talent pool where they can fill out and make it an interesting tournament. So in one way, it's positive. In another way, I still think it's pretty negative because not having your main eventers makes the tournament feel less than. Would it kill Utami to take a fall, especially now that she's leaving, be in the tournament, take a fall to a Hazuki? You know she's staying. She could have knocked out Utami, and ultimately then you could have done your goofy Ruaka thing with her. Would I have pushed Ruaka into a Final Four over, say, a Momo Watanabe getting that far? I would not. I thought those were incredibly uninteresting type matches in booking, and I think it was the wrong person to fill that role when there's better people. However, the bright side to it is I thought the tournament did a tremendous job elevating people out of their undercard doldrums. Hanan is clearly the best example. She won the tournament. She beat Mirai clean, which I think was the best booking decision of the tournament. I even liked it more than her actually winning the thing over an Ami Sourei, which was a pretty okay match. I think Ami Sourei went to bat above her average throughout the tournament, and she wasn't the only one. I thought Starlight Kid did a good job filling her role. Suzu Suzuki, I think they could have done a little bit more, but Suzu eliminating, or Starlight Kid eliminating Suzu the way she did, perhaps could have been handled better. I do like the structure of the matches more. That's a positive, with them not leaning into a constant over-the-top rope, but making it, as soon as you get hit onto the apron, it's death territory. So I'm very much torn in how the tournament was presented and booked, and I think this is kind of going to be the normal for a little bit until we change that mentality. But in terms of elevating fresh and young talent and really getting Hanan in particular out of an undercard future role, if you will, it's a rousing success in that sense. If they can maybe drum up more interest next year, I'll be looking for a 12 to 1,500 number in the finals. I want this tournament to mean that much more and feel more important. Maybe that doesn't make a total hell of a lot of sense, but regardless, let's get to the other couple matches on there, because I spoke about, Azumi lost to Ami Sourei clean as a whistle, 11:35. I would say far and away the Mirai Hanan match was the match of the tournament. And the Ami Sourei getting to the final, I think, is good for her. But the story was Hanan. A lot of people are happy with the result, and I get it. Now, the two matches that are getting a lot of discussion. 15-minute draw, Giulia Tam Nakano. They did essentially I can't even call it a play the hits match, which I get the feeling, listening to others' opinions and recapping of the match, of this match in particular, I think people would have preferred that rather than Giulia and Tam going out there and trying to have their ultimate rivalry match in a placement where it really wasn't necessary to feel that way. It was certainly forced. I mean, Tam Nakano taking that headbutt and having her brain shown to the world, little much. I don't think this was the right place and the right time for that kind of match, but clearly these two wanted to do it. It really reminds me of certain like action shows where it's like, I don't know, it's two long-lived rivals near the end of their careers, and they want to have one last go at each other, and they're just even sticks, right? They don't want to actually beat each other. It didn't hit me the way I wanted it to. I'm at 3 3/4 with it. I think it's, my 4 stars. I'm around there. I'm certainly not above. I'm certainly not at or above 4 1/4 for it. Was it still pretty awesome in its perverted sense? I think it was, because they really did go all out and try to do every known thing they could to each other. Whether it was both hitting the Steiner screwdrivers on each other and the lack of hitting a finisher, it didn't get to that comical sense where they were kicking out of each other's finishers at one. I think they overtried, and that's kind of what held this match back from being great. And honestly, I probably would have done a lighter match on a house show and saved, say, Giulia Suzu for this spot, and Giulia actually put Suzu over. But clearly, that was not the Giulia plan on her way out from Stardom. Unlike Utami and Mirai, whom were losing matches left and right. And their star power is not going to be hurt for it either. Giulia, on the other hand, she's the prime figurehead for talk and discussion. So maybe Giulia not losing all these matches is it's clearly by design. Is it by design from her, or is it Hatman saying no, she's not losing? I don't know. it does make for fun discussions with friends. In the World of Stardom title match, Maika finally beats Utami in a big-time title match spot. 29 minutes, 41 seconds. They teased the draw. And there's a part of me that thought they were going to go through with it based on how Stardom's been booking these kind of weird matches like this. But what lacks here, because I ultimately think this is the third or best Maika Utami match. I still loved it. I still went full 3 rec, 4 stars. I think it's been one of the best joshi matches this year. It was certainly worked as such. They love their big powerhouse styles meeting each other in the ring ways. And they really built a lot of sequences off their 5-star match that I loved. It was one of my favorite matches of the tournament. I love the styles against each other. They played a lot of those same hits and built off that into a much longer match. What this lacked was, because we knew Utami was leaving, it took, I think, a lot of drama out, which TJPW has had a lot lately, and that's what's missing in Stardom, is that missing element of drama. And then there's the fact that this really felt like it was rushed to get it out, rather than a built-up story of Maika finally beating Utami. There was missing that element too. Because otherwise, if it had those things, I'm probably going a 4.5 plus type of match. But it's missing some key elements there to really take it from good to great. And I think that's fair. I think that's fair for what this match was, because it was well worked. I thought it was well executed for the type of match they were. They teased the right things, but it was just missing that emotional drawing element that these matches need. So now I will play the drop for TJPW, and then it's time for AJW and get the hell out of here. Okay, TJPW. They're gonna coming out of this show, and ultimately, I think the main booking decisions is going to be what the fans are going to be focused on, and rightfully so. It's what they've wanted. It's what the fans have wanted for years and years. They've wanted young people that they see could be the future of the promotion to finally be elevated into a next position spot. In the case of this show, Suzume and Arisa Endo winning the tag titles after they won the little tag tournament over a more established veteran-type team in Mizunami Aino. I thought the match was totally okay. I went 1 out of 3 on it. I thought it was one of the weaker-type matches at the top of the card. But the results are what matter to the fans in this case. That's what this show was about. It was about getting those feelings from the promotion that they like. Because as I'm watching a lot of these matches, like, I get it. I completely get it. You have your goofy undercard with the rookies. You have Raku and Palm against Giant Panda and Toribami. I thought the match was pretty ass, personally, but get it. Mocha and Juria have a goodbye type match against Wakana and Toga. 11 minutes. Perfectly acceptable rookie type match. I do think it would have behooved TJPW, especially from this part of the show all the way until the Magical Sugar Rabbits match. Results should probably be flipped in some capacity. I think Wakana or Toga should have pinned Juria. The girl's retiring. Get her out. That kind of deal. TJPW doesn't operate that way. Masha Slamovich and Rika have a 10-minute TV-style match, upper echelon. I went 2 out of 3 on that one. But again, TJPW special. Outsiders come in and beat most of your talent. Aja Kong, Max the Impaler defeats Shoko and Hyper Masao, 12 minutes. And this was mostly a house show comedy style match with some good moments. Ultimately not for me. But again, the fans loved it. 18 minutes, Minoru Suzuki, Maki Ito. This was a bizarre match. Because on one hand, it's very intriguing. We didn't get the usual Minoru Suzuki house match, right? and Maki Ito was doing her shtick, right? Her thing. And in fact, she's clearly improved in a lot of different elements of her game and charisma and what she's able to do in the ring. But on the other hand, this delved into a comedy match. Way too much. Especially for a special singles match. And look, Minoru Suzuki, outsider or not, here's Maki Ito, and this is what's really damaging to her as a drawing character in any promotion is she loses all the time in big spots. Magical Sugar Rabbits, Yuka Sakazaki back from TJPW retirement, and Mizuki defeat Emi Sakura and Chris Brooks. Emi Sakura taking the fall here. Actually not surprised by this result. This was kind of a mixture of Mizuki's the only person from TJPW in this match, truly. So, I guess the result was not really... it didn't matter. So ultimately you have two AEW people and Chris Brooks in there against each other, and I just thought it was a solidly worked match. I went... did I go... No, I went 2 out of 3. Mizuki and Yuka going up against Chris Brooks, well sold. Emi Sakura doing her shtick. We know the drill. The Yuki Arai Kamifuku match, 11.5 minutes. I just don't think this was very good. This was not indicative of being third from the top. This probably should have been much lower in the card, I believe, especially with the people involved. Yuki Arai is incredibly popular. I hope she's in this promotion for a long time to come, and she can get better in the ring, because this match ain't it. Yuki Kamifuku, not a great singles wrestler, and certainly never a push talent by any means. But, hey, you get your popular wrestler over, I guess I can't really complain about that. 0 out of 3. I just didn't think it was very good. I already spoke about Suzume and Endo winning the tag titles. Look, they're tag titles in a Joshi promotion, unless it's... I can't even think of... I guess Stardom with the Goddess titles, but they don't really treat it as high as I think. I hope they do. For the Princess tag titles, look, it's how Joshi titles are generally booked, where you don't truly have main eventers hold these things too often, or it's a placeholder for younger talent, so you don't have to worry about pushing them anytime soon. It's unfortunately kind of a reality of where these tag titles stand. In TJPW, they get away with it every now and again by booking like Magi Rabi into that role, which does it good, but unfortunately they don't really beat them ever. Anyways. And then we got the main event. Watanabe defeats Miyu Yamashita, 20 minutes. I thought this was a masterclass type match for Miyu Yamashita. Between her and Micah and what they were able to put together for their main event title matches, I went 4 stars on this. I thought it was excellent. I've even asked the question around, what did everyone think of the teardrop no-sell spot by Miyu Yamashita? Because TJPW, not only do they not do a fighting spirit spot like ever, they don't really have the repertoire of the wrestlers in order to pull it off. Miyu Yamashita and Yuka are kind of the only people that can pull that type off and get away with it without looking ridiculous. And when Miyu popped up, I thought that was pretty awesome. I just have an issue with Watanabe's structure of matches and how she sets a lot of these things up. It was a weird struggle type match where they were both kind of conversely selling the back, even though Miyu Watanabe got kicked in the head a bunch. So I guess you could argue that she was woozy throughout the whole time, and her powering up Miyu for the teardrop and dropping her for that no-sell. I'm 50%. I wish the setup was better. I wish they would have actually done the tease of the Princess Cup finish, where Miyu's hitting a couple moves, bounce off the ropes, and then gets hit, and then does the no-sell. Because then you could have done a real good story callback there. But they ultimately didn't do that. Then I'd really much buy into the storyline of the Princess Cup looks like Miyu got lucky. Which, I mean, it really did look that way and feel that way to me. I would have liked a more definitive tease. And I thought the near falls were certainly lacking, with the exception of one, and that was the massive skull kick from Miyu Yamashita on Miyu, and Miyu barely kicking out. Kind of let me down a little bit that they miffed a couple spots in between, and then immediately went to the finish, with Miyu putting Yamashita down with another teardrop. I do have my reservations about that and how that went down, but these are all like nitpicky elements of why I think the match could have been better. The result, again, is going to stick in a lot of people's minds, and that's going to matter to a lot of people. And do I think Miyu Watanabe is the ace of this promotion? No, I don't. I need a lot more proof on that. I need to see a strong title run out of her, strong booking, and treat her like a main eventer. Because up until this point, she's only had, 2 strong victories ever? Leading up to this moment? 5... When did she debut? Is it 5 years into her career now? Let's see. 6 years ago. Okay, so she's over the 6-year mark. And she's really only had 2 big victories, in my mind. And her kind of earning this title shot was very weak. But she had the groundswell of support from the fans, and that's all she needed. That's why this show drew 2,300 people. It was the groundswell of fan support and want of this new talent to get over. And they recognized this show was the make or break moment, and they showed up for it and got what they wanted. And that's ultimately what I think many of these promotions are missing, and TJPW currently has. It is putting talent eventually in positions like this where there's a fan support that demands it. Lead a horse to water, you can't make him drink it. Well, finally, Kota had the horses drink it. So yeah, I thought the Maika Utami match was a better match. I think Watanabe and Yamashita had the better of the 2 near falls, and the emotional result TJPW had. So I would say this definitely is going to probably be regarded as a women's match of the year contender for a lot of people. What would I say? I believe this would be... Yeah, I think this would be number 2 on my non-Stardom list. Yeah, I'd have to think about that a little bit more. Well, let's see. What do I got here? Let me pull up my little guide. Let's see where it falls. Mayu Shuri, easily number 1. That's going to be tough to top this year, honestly. Yamashita Slamovich, I think, was still better than this Watanabe match. I think it hit harder. Near falls were better. Sariano, Starlight Kid, Maika, Sayakamatani. For me, I guess it's looking, what would that be? 1, 2, 3, 4. I guess this would be 5th for me. It's above Akino Miyomomono. And it's above Maika Utami. So yeah, okay, 5th. A top 5 match so far. So that's really good, considering. And for TJPW to have 2 of those 5 out of the gate, I think speaks wonders for how the promotion's doing on their big shows this year. They're delivering in the big spots. And there's a part of me that agrees with a lot of people that those 2 matches alone and a lot of the results give TJPW the edge over Stardom this year. And yeah, a lot of that has to do with Stardom being in that holding pattern and trying to figure out what they're going to do. All right. Is this going to be time for a short AJW review? Certainly could be. Let's do it. Okay. AJW Destiny. Here we are. The second of the massive shows from Yoko. This one's from Yokohama Arena. It is March 26th, 1995. And this is going to be the first half of Wrestling Queendom Victory. So in the last episode, we covered all of Success with the, what did they draw, like 8,500 people at that show, in which the Matsunagas were incredibly disappointed with. Let's see here. We have, 8,500. Now, this show looked like it had a comparable amount of people. So I'm going to have to do a little bit more research through kind of old Weekly Pro deals to see what the overall feeling of the show's attendance and everything was. And I'm going to go over more of the kind of Wrestling Observer newsletter and what was thought of the show at the time. That'll be in the next episode. I'll cover that because this Victory show is a two-parter because I love this show. There's certainly a match that I'm going to cover here that was no good and terrible, but par for the course with AJW in the 90s. Now, to recap a bit of Success, if you will, that was more or less building up a lot of the Weekly Pro Tokyo Dome show, which is going to take place in a couple months from here. And it had the 3WA tag title tournament. Bison Kimura coming back for some singles matches. Manami Toyota showing out. Double Inoue showing out throughout the whole show. A little bit of teasing between Aja Kong and Manami Toyota for this particular card. And then for some reason, the elevation of Blizzard Yuki and Saki Asagawa. So this covers the first half. I'm going to end at the halfway point where I'm going to do the first 6 of the 10 matches. Because there's more to talk about in the next half, where it will entail the All-Pacific three-way title match, a WWF women's title match, a UFC match, and the main event of Manami Toyota Aja Kong, which might take up the majority of the conversation there. But on this one, it's more of the undercard. What's going on in the world of non-main eventers for AJW? What's happening? Well, we got Rita Mata defeating Kumiko Meikawa in 10.5 minutes. Rookie match. Tamata wins with a spinning crossbody of all things. I thought this was totally fine. I love me some Rita Mata. I want her to stick around. I want her to improve and move up the card. That's followed by an AJW Junior title match. Candy Okotsu of JWP and Shaprita Asari of our AJW here. And this was a story about Asari winning the junior title back from the outsider. They're still doing business with JWP at this time, even though they have cut ties with Chigusa Nagayo for the time being. They've cut ties with LOPW for obvious reasons of the Kandori fiasco at the Tokyo Dome show at Big Egg. And they've cut ties with Atsushi Onita and his FMW goons because he didn't want them to do jobs. So AJW's tired of it. And they have a bunch of young talent to fill in. And on this show, they brought in some luchadoras from CMLL. So Asari wins the belt back from JWP's Okotsu. She hit the Sky Twister Press. This went 15.5 minutes. Let's call this an early iteration of a high-speed title match. It's pretty neat. Kind of delves into boring a little bit with Okatsu hitting the ground mat and doing Asari, but occasionally Asari would get back up and do some lucha stuff that she's well off doing. I don't know, 3 stars, 2.5. Kickboxing match. Yes, UFC fever is still in effect. Noriko Sonoda against Kaori Ito. This was hot junk. They're falling over each other. They're tripping. They're calling draws. People are getting punched in the face without defense. They don't know what the hell they're doing. This was awful, and it ends in a draw. Bullshit, it ends in a draw when Kaori Ito clearly lost. Nonsense. I don't get it. These all suck. I want to meet the person. Perverse attitude towards these matches out. I want to meet the person that finds these interesting and good. I'd like to interview someone who's like, oh yeah, here's my review from 1995. Loved the kickboxing matches. Loved the shoot fighting. Aren't they great? Best 2 out of 3 falls match. Lady Apache of CMLL tagging with Jaguar Yokota against Mariko Yoshida and La Felina of CMLL. Oh, dear God. I have decided something, finally, after watching this. La Felina is the perfect representation of, God, she's almost good. If only she'd hit some moves. More clean than Manami Toyota moonsaults hitting her face on the apron. Or she's on the border of absolutely awful because she can't hit anything correctly. And she gets blown up and can't actually do the lucha moves. She's the perfect iteration of being on both ends of the borderline of either thing. And it really goes into that definition of, my God, good lucha is great, bad lucha is some of the dirt worst. And La Felina represented the dirt worst in this kind of match. But at the beginning, when it was her and Lady Apache really trying a lot of things, they nailed some awesome stuff until they got tired. And the La Felina just could not be bothered for shit. There's a moment in this match where La Felina takes a spill to the outside. Apache revs up the crowd. She's getting ready for the Suicida dive, and she has to then baseball slide to the outside and fucking slap her on the head because Felina couldn't get to her feet. Just no chance. Or they're going for wheelbarrow rolls and trying to do some up on the shoulders, joshi type roll deals. And Felina is just so out of it and off-footed that now she's botching everything. Crazy bad. It took about 15 minutes just for the first fall to happen. And let me tell you, Jaguar Yokota and Lady Apache as a team, awesome. Mariko Yoshida, awesome. So when we got Apache Yoshida, that was great, especially with them doing springboard dives to the outside. Ironically enough, Yokota was a bigger, smoother luchadora than La Felina, and Lady Apache was, even though she's the luchadora, she was more of a high flyer. Although Jaguar Yokota's never been that big of a high flyer, but of her time and era, she certainly was. Let's see here. Jaguar pins Yoshida with the straightjacket suplex, and I believe... Did Felina get a fall on Apache? Or did Yoshida get a fall on Apache? One of those things happened. Point is, they went to 3 falls. Very lucha-esque. I don't know, man. It's a fascinatingly bad match with a lot of garbage from La Felina. But when Yoshida and Yokota mixed it up, and then Apache was not going against Felina, this match was on the border of, man, I love this shit. A generous 2 stars, I suppose. UWA World Tag Titles, LCO, continue their run as the tag team to watch. That isn't Double Inouye, because Double Inouye, I think, has eclipsed them at this point. LCO is very much now slotted, I feel. Last year was an elevation year with the retirement of Akira Hokuto. They were very much being focused on a lot of these cards, and they do still have a big spot and hole to fill. But now with the roster healthy again, they've really slotted back down. And this match against Suzuka Minami and Tomoko Watanabe, it was your, let's call it the LCO default match, where you know LCO is going to do trading heat segments. They're going to lead up to X person getting a few comebacks just to get cut off. Ultimately, for Mita and Shimoda to do their dive through the ropes, over the ropes combo, leading to a DVD in the ring by Mita for a pin. What made this match a little more interesting and pretty awesome is the finish with Suzuka Minami hitting power bombs, countering out of a DVD until she finally gets cracked with it. Tomoko doing her job with hitting a lot of big lariats and springboard elbows. She's really starting to come into her own, especially now that she's not being put in that lucha gear that she was for a couple years there. This was good. I'll go about 3.5 on this. I want to see more innovation from LCO at this point in time. I think for this sort of show and getting 19 minutes, they should have done a lot more. Just a little too slow, a little too much leaning on the mat kind of deal. And I think Suzuki Minami's kind of at the end of the line for her. And then we got our quote-unquote main event of this particular show for part 1 here. It's Bison Kimura against Saki Hasegawa. And this was a phenomenal 3.5 10-minute match here. 3.5 star 10-minute match. Because Bison goes full 1980s on Saki Hasegawa. It's the most unique match probably on the card, with Bison throwing her into chairs, throwing a row of chairs on Saki Hasegawa. She's hitting her with the billy stick. She's hitting her with everything she can find on the outside. She's giving her hard chops, big lariats, just easy Germans. Saki Hasegawa's bumping everywhere and taking it all. And every few minutes or so, as in 3 times, Hasegawa would fire back, get put down. Fire back, get put down, and then finally, she fires back. She ducks/counters Kimura's big overhand chop off the ropes, which I call the heart stopper. And she hits her with a huge jumping heel kick and pins her ass in 10 minutes. Saki Hasegawa gets put over strong by Kimura. Not in the huge convincing manner, but the veteran puts over the young talent. Because Kimura, she's not back full time. She's in kind of roles like this, and it's a good spot for her. There was no holds on the mat like previous matches, and there was no like boring iterations of sauntering around the ring. This, I thought, was very exciting, and I don't know, 1 or 2 out of 3 rec. Strong showing, and a good start to the half, with the exception of the of the kickboxing match by Kairito. That was hot trash. So we'll continue part 2 of this in the next episode with all the big-time title matches, and I will have much more to say in the next episode. Guys, look forward to those live reactions over on the Patreon from WrestleMania weekend, of all the Joshi shows. Hope you enjoyed AJW Destiny. Enjoy more of the shows to come. Rickee, you ready for an exhausted podcast episode?
We're both really tired, and there's not a whole lot. I don't know that we have a lot of AW New Japan opinions this episode. I don't have a ton.
I have a lot of matches to recommend, but booking-wise, I think things won't pan out for about a month or so. So it's hard to, yeah.
Okay.
So, like, I watched this DDT show.
Let's dive in.
It's called Judgment, and
Okay.
I pop in with DDT every now and again, especially if they put on a show like this. And let me tell you, this kind of the top end of the card of Judgment from March 17th, Endo and Ino versus Honda and Anzai, Konosuke Takeshita versus Aoyagi was excellent. And then the main event of Ueno Harashima was also excellent. I personally liked the Takeshita Aoyagi match more. I went 4.25 plus on that sucker. Really enjoyed the last 2 matches on the show. I recommend it. Booking wise, I mean, it's kind of what you expect. Champion retains, and then in Takeshita's sense, he won. So nothing out of the ordinary, I would say, from DDT.
Okay.
From New Japan, let me tell you, we punted this New Japan Cup because
Yeah.
Even though there was a lot of hot booking on the show, it didn't feel hot by any means.
Did not.
No.
I'm shaking my head feverishly. Did not.
Right. But the final between Goto and Tsuji, whether they meant to book it that way or not, ended up being a good match. One of the better New Japan matches of the year so far. Tsuji won. So, look, they got this guy to win right now. If Finley was supposed to be in that spot for the winning, spot, then I think it was a happy accident that he got hurt and replaced by Goto, and then maybe that was the factor that decided them to go with Tsuji. Things happen for a reason. I hope that he was always meant to win this match, regardless of the outcome or what they meant to do. It's the right time. I think the push of Tsuji has been done well for New Japan, considering how much we've been expressing that New Japan desperately needs new talent at the top of the card to help with whole Naito and pushing new talent. So in terms of Sakura Genesis coming up here in about a week or so, I think the Tsuji match has much more hype to it now than it did before. And I think it's a good time. Now, what does that mean for guys like Shota Umino, Uemura, and Uehara? That's a TJPW wrestler. Uemura and kind of that company of guys. It's a mixture of, I don't really blame the booking for not pushing them to the extent that they have Tsuji. We all think they should, but it's also a case of these guys got to prove themselves and make us really want them there, and they have to prove it. It's one of those situations where even if they're not good enough, they better get good enough and quick. Because the company needs them and the fans want them to be. Because we're in a situation now where you watch a New Japan show, and if the most exciting thing on the show is did they or did they not book Evil good enough, then we're not really into that. You know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Did you watch any of the CMLL AEW stuff? Did you get a chance?
No. It was, so as we sit here to record, it was just last night. And no, I did not get to it.
So
what were your thoughts? I did see that they played Willow's music for all of the women that entered in her match.
Yeah, you had Stephanie Vacker coming out just stone-faced, and you had this happy-go-lucky music just...
Tessa Blanchard coming out to Willow's music.
Yeah.
Fucking great stuff. I love
this goofy game show style music, and just everyone's just staunch, stoic down to the ring, except Willow.
Fucking great stuff.
It was funny.
Great stuff.
But that show was like a show of the year contender.
Yeah?
Yeah. It was so good. I caught some of it this afternoon. I still have the main event to go with the whole Danielson and Mystico and Blue Panther deal. I've seen clips of that. I've seen every match up until that point, and everything's good to great. Nothing was like poor or uninteresting. Everything had a great energy to it, and AEW and the CMLL relationship's really working. Look, we're getting CMLL Arena Mexico chance for AEW, and it's mattering. And the show sold out. Very hype. Conan AAA in the mud.
Right.
Yeah. So I do recommend, obviously I'm going to watch the main event and finish that, but I do recommend you should check out the whole show.
CMLL a front runner for your promotion of the year after the first quarter?
It is. I would put it at number 2 because, look, as much as I ragged on AEW last year and they did not have a good year, what they're doing this year is a phenomenal start. I mean, just take this. I agree. Just take this last Wednesday, for example. I'm pulling up my match ratings here. Shibata Ospreay, Strickland Takeshita. Yeah. I'm like, every week I'm pulling at least a 3 3/4 star match, and the booking's been solid to interesting.
Yep.
I don't ask for much, and I think a lot of it between Okada beating Kingston, becoming the new champion. I like this Chris Jericho Hook storyline that they're doing in the undercard. It's keeping Hook relevant and on television and doing things. The Young Bucks are doing great things with Okada. I love the EVP shtick that they're leaning into.
God, I love it so much.
And Ospreay's a superstar. I love what they're doing there.
Unbelievable. Oh my God. Yeah. Man. What a fucking draw. I mean, the presence is just outrageous. Speaking of people being a draw and having a presence.
Oh, well.
Mercedes.
Look, the TV ratings, there's been a lot of kind of discussion about that from other podcasts and the like. And yeah, you would certainly like to see an uptick in the ratings. But right now, with the mixture of March Madness and other sports, because let's face it, the sports going on right now in the sports world, AEW is maintaining pretty steady at that 800,000,
Sure.
0.27-ish area. They're maintaining steady with the entries of Ospreay, Okada, and Mercedes.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't shock me that they're not, pulling the 900 to a million 0.3s every week, especially when we have Caitlin Clark on television. You have UConn in the NCAA tournament doing their thing. Hell, Rickee, just last night.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. Just yesterday, I went to the NCAA men's hockey game here in Providence to see my alma mater play. I'm at the game. Look, they lost 6-1 against Boston College, but hey, moral victory lasted 50 minutes against the number one team in the country.
Sure.
Did you see my goofy pictures with the mascot and everything?
I did not. I'll have to. Where were those? Instagram, Twitter?
Twitter. Yeah.
Okay, I'll have to take a look. No, you're right though. I mean, the season is winding down, gearing up to the playoffs. A lot of people are making a push. Same with NHL, and that is TNT and TBS's bread and butter is NHL and NBA. So
yeah, and the NHL has just been fantastic this year.
Oh, it's been
one way or another.
Year, yeah.
There's 7 teams vying for the number one spot, separated by like a point.
Yeah,
New York, Boston, Colorado, Winnipeg, Dallas, New York Rangers. You even in like the outside spots, you have the Washington Capitals and Sidney Crosby of the Penguins, with Ovechkin trying to break Gretzky's record. Crosby's breaking like Gordie Howe type point records deal. Whether it's Caitlin Clark breaking NCAA records or what we're seeing in hockey, to what's going on in the NBA with Jokic and company. Sports are real hot right now, and so is AEW feels hot, but it's going to be hard.
Yep.
It's going to be real hard for them to get an uptick with all of this other competition next to it. So if I take that, and TV ratings are staying pretty steady. You'd like to see it higher, obviously, but when you start looking at things like the ticket sales and them pushing 4,000 over the last month for every show minimum, I mean, let's not forget, earlier in this year, they were pumping 2,500 tops. Now they're doing a lot better. And the shows are way more interesting. They're consistent. Every main event's delivered in some capacity, from Cage Copeland delivering, Takeshita Strickland last week. What was Collision a couple weeks ago? Was that Shibata Danielson in the main event? I think it was.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. So every single show has delivered over the past month, and I think the ticket sales are starting to show for it. And it's not going to happen overnight, but moves like this and consistency will. And I've really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I mean, just great stuff. I mean, I don't have a lot to add. Progress in all fronts.
Well,
Great
obviously,
stuff.
the best moment
Oh,
of the month was Adam Copeland putting a Leafs jersey on and beating up Kristen Cage with the Bruins jersey. That was, I mean,
disagree.
what? How was that not the best?
I mean, it was great. My favorite moment that happened in the last couple weeks uh, was Pac and Okada being in the same ring.
They're certainly teasing that match. You think it's going to happen
And
at
I'm pretty sure
Dynasty?
if that match happens, gets advertised for Dynasty, I am jumping on a plane to St. Louis.
Ooh.
Um, I I told Jason, I was like, you can come or not, I don't care. I am. If that match happens, I have to be there. Pac is my favorite. Everybody knows that. Um, yeah, Pac and Okada. It's just something that I don't know when else I'd get a chance to see live in person. So um, I'm dying for it. I'm so God. Pac looks so good too. Now that he's back, he's in insane shape. He almost died apparently. Obviously, we still don't know what his injury was or illness or why he was out. But someone pointed out to me that in his video package advertising his return, he used a local slang phrase, something about like I almost popped me clogs, which apparently means I almost died. So whether that was real or for emphasis, I'm not sure. But in any case, I'm glad he's back wrestling.
Yeah, I wonder what
Missed him.
happened there. I mean, it could be something like
Mhm.
an Osprey situation where he had an infection and they're like, oh, well,
Yeah,
if you would have waited like a few more days, then sepsis would have kept in or something.
right.
Could be something like that.
Who knows? Who knows? Who knows? I'm just really excited. AW looks like it's going in a great direction. The women's division looks great. I don't know. Um, so for Dynasty, um, I don't know that we're building towards anything with Tony Storm's title. Um, but we have Willow lined up to face Julia for the TBS title. And so far, that's the storyline that Mercedes has been involved in. But it looks like she might not be wrestling on that card, which is very weird. When is she going to wrestle?
Supposedly, there's a chance she's not quite ready to wrestle yet. And
I can hear it. Yeah.
and they're utilizing all this time to kind of build up various feuds for her when she's ready, and maybe Double or Nothing is going to be her official debut. I'm a little worried that it's not the overexposure part, but Mercedes' best factors are always what she can do in the ring and not what she can do on the stick. And the more you expose her to probably her biggest weakness in her game, might be a detractor from, I guess, I can't say like lessening her star power, because she still feels like a major star on the show.
Sure.
But in the AEW's world, that might not be good enough. But we've definitely seen bigger profile movement and programs being built in the women's division for AEW, and that's very enjoyable. And it's trickling down all the way to Ring of Honor with the newfound Stardom relationship. We're getting a match there. We're getting Queen Aminata and Billy Starks with a new title. We're getting Sheeta and Athena coming up because WrestleMania week's here, and a lot of joshi wrestling is happening.
Right.
And I'm going to a lot of those shows.
Oh, I didn't realize. I forgot you were going to Philly.
I am going to Philly.
You're just doing indie stuff, right?
Yeah, I'm not going to WrestleMania. Once I did the New Orleans show and couldn't see shit for an entire time, and the show was like 6 hours fucking long, I'm like, never again.
Yeah.
And I did the indie thing when it was in New York, and I had a great time going to all the other shows. I got to have a good few days there, doing what I wanted. You go to a 2 to 4 hour show once a day, and then you have a whole other day to relax, eat some food, have a good time. way less stress, way more enjoyable, and honestly, it's cheaper than going to like one WrestleMania and spending a ton of money.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. I mean, what's your take on Mercedes? And because Toni Storm's being built for Thunder Rosa, and I'm very worried about that match. The title's still ganged up with this huge shtick.
I mean, we talked about it before they put the title on her. She didn't need the title.
Right.
So I'm very disappointed in the run so far. I'm been very disappointed in the quality of matches she's been putting on because we know what she's capable of. Not because they're bad matches, but because we know she's capable of more.
Oh, I think the matches have been pretty bad.
No, they have.
Yeah.
But they feel worse because we know she's capable of so much more.
Okay.
What's going on with your cat right now?
Yeah, he's being crazy. He's scratching the pole behind me. He's messing with my arm. He wants to play.
He was in your lap for a little bit.
He was in my lap for a little bit. Now he's not. Yeah, he's been wacky.
So yeah, I'm not super excited about anything Tony's doing right now. I'm mostly excited to see Mariah May continue to wrestle, and I'm waiting for that turn and for that match. The Tony versus Mariah match that I'm sure will come eventually. Although we were sure we would get Jamie Hayter versus Britt Baker, and that never happened either.
Well, yeah,
Mercedes,
that never
though,
did happen.
I think it's. I know,
and both are still
I'm
out.
I know. I'm happy Mercedes is in AEW. I would like to see her wrestle. But until that time, I think just having her around is probably a really good thing.
Yeah, phenomenal debut. I thought she had with the whole CEO. The gimmicks really transferred over. The music's great. The presentation's good. She's really owned it. Just want to see her in the ring, and the sooner the better.
Right. Were you there at the PD Garden?
No, I didn't go to Big Business. It is downtown Boston. It's very difficult to get to these days.
Yeah, I get it. That city sucks.
That city sucks. Yes, it does. Boo, Boston. Damn it, there's a college there too. I hate them.
There's a lot I like about Boston, but getting around that city is incredibly difficult. It's
horrible. Horse tracks for cars don't work. All right, let's I'd say let's streamline this thing and talk some WCW.
Okay, before we do that, what are you drinking this evening?
I was drinking a lot this week, along with yesterday. Not drinking during this podcast right now.
Loser.
Yeah.
I was at a local brewery earlier today that is women-owned and queer-owned.
Mm-hmm.
It is called Gold Spot Brewing. It's in northern Denver by Regis University.
Okay.
And their beer selection was incredible. Not in volume. They had maybe, 8 beers on tap. But they were all just so intriguing. They had a Mexican lager with lime. They had a s'mores porter. They had 2 different versions of a blonde coffee stout. They had a raspberry something seltzer. They had a cucumber goes, which was like the most refreshing thing I've ever tasted in my life.
Cucumber?
But their flagship, it's delicious. It was like drinking a cucumber salad. It was like vinegary, but like pleasant. Like it was almost like pickles, but like sweet.
I've definitely had a cucumber type like alcohol before, and it's a good summer thing.
It was phenomenal.
I'm not really sure how a like heavier version of that would do.
Yeah. So I had 2 of their flagship beer is an IPA. It's called the Cutter IPA.
Okay, yep.
I had 2 of them there. It's 6.8%. So after I had 2, I had to wait a little while before I felt comfortable driving, but I'm having another one right now. I bought a 6-pack.
Hey, you're home. Drink up.
Yeah, and I can't say enough about this brewery. I wish I lived closer, but I'm going to tell everyone I know in the Denver area to check it out. Again,
Yeah.
women owned, queer owned, and just really like daring flavors that work. They're not experimental for the sake of experimenting. They are delicious. Um, so I'm very happy we popped in.
Yeah, I've been drinking a lot of Modelo this week. So
Mm-hmm.
nothing fancy, but
Nice.
good stuff there.
You were
And then
watching CMLL, so
yeah, and then Modelo at the formerly known as the Dunkin' Donuts Center is as much as any other beer. So have that. I went to the Dunk twice in the last week. So
that's nuts.
yeah, I've been going to some games, going to see some things, and then prior to that and bowling. I mean, it's the end of the season, so bowling's been nuts.
Okay.
Having a lot of Narragansett beer, which is a local thing. Had
Oh,
their
yeah.
Bohemian Pilsner. So that's what I've been drinking, and I am exhausted for
Brilliant.
it. Especially waking up for work at 4:30 in the morning, working till 3. Anyways, no one wants to hear that. What they want to hear is our WCW review, which is now ready to rumble. So I'm going to play the music. Here we go.
Yes.
So yes, much like what's going on in the world of AEW, WCW was preempted because of all the sports, and they were doing a recap week. And it just so happened to also be the week that the movie Ready to Rumble came out, that they were heavily advertising all over the show. DDP especially cutting promos about the show, and he's a main character in the movie. If you haven't seen Ready to Rumble, it's a notorious wrestling movie that WCW put out with Warner Brothers on April 7th, 2000, starring David Arquette, Oliver Pratt, and Scott Caan, with a lot of WCW talent there, DDP being the main one, being the evil villain. Kind of coincided the shooting with the shooting of the movie when he was champion for that month span.
Mm-hmm.
Goldberg's in it. He has a slight role. Booker T makes appearances. Mm-hmm. Macho Man's in the beginning of the movie. Sid Vicious and Perry Saturn are like goofball heels. Sting makes an appearance. They really do a lot to highlight a lot of the talent, and they make sure that WCW Nitro and WCW is the number one wrestling show going on in the world, and everyone's pretty. It's a very goofy.
Okay, so let's dive in.
Okay.
I had never seen the movie before.
Okay, I haven't seen this movie in 25 years.
Okay, so I am 39 years old watching a movie that's 24 years old.
Or yeah, I haven't seen it since it released. So 24 years.
But I was a teenager. I was the right age to have watched this movie when it was new, right? I was 16 when it came out, 15, 16. And so this movie to me felt like it was capitalizing on like American Pie, Road Trip, Euro Trip, that style of boy teenage hijinks movie. My question for you is, who is this movie for? Is it for WCW fans? Is it for fans who are not wrestling fans to try to get them to become fans? Because I'm watching this and I am like, okay, WCW is the featured promotion.
Mm-hmm.
Nitro is the featured show. And they are showing, so David Arquette and his buddy, who's the actor's name, I don't know.
Oliver Pratt.
Oliver Pratt is the king.
Right. Oh, you're talking about David Arquette's that's Scott Caan, isn't it?
Anyway. I have no idea what his name is. Anyway,
Yeah.
in any case, it's two like teenage or I guess early 20s guys who are gigantic wrestling fans.
Yeah, they are. From Wyoming, of all
However,
states.
oh, and yeah, and they're from Wyoming, which I love because it's right over the border right here. My question is, if this is for the fans, why would WCW depict their fans as these fucking idiots? Like, they are morons who don't know the difference between a work and a shoot. Oh, also, they blend work and shoot throughout this movie. There's no linear, there's no. So early in the movie, our main characters, the fans, David Arquette and his buddy, go to Nitro taping in Cheyenne.
Yeah.
And we see the wrestling match, and we see Oliver Pratt and his opponent. I think, it's DDP in the first match too.
Yeah.
We see them calling the match in the ring. We're getting this inside look, like, okay, this is predetermined. They're calling moves. The end is planned. We're smart wrestling fans. Like, we understand what's happening here. And by the end of the movie, there's a work shoot match that has like actual stakes. I don't. It is so stupid.
Yeah, they constantly do that where, okay, we want to this is the finish, and then like in that first match with Oliver Pratt's character, the King, Jimmy King, and the evil promoter, Titus Sinclair, tells DDP, "You're going over, make it happen in a shoot," basically. And then they get into a quote-unquote real fight because Jimmy Keen's now fighting for his life because now he's getting the shoot shit beat out of him. And yet there's the fans in the front row recognizing that it's fake, but no, this part's real, and he's getting screwed. And
okay, so that didn't bother me. That felt very real. It felt very Montreal Screwjob. That part didn't bother me. The fact that the promoter changed his mind and had a plan with one match, one participant in the match and not the other. That part didn't bother me. I actually felt very real. Also, the promoter, who's, I guess he's kind of supposed to be Eric Bischoff. He's also kind of supposed to be like Buffalo Bill Cody because he's wearing this like Native American jacket the whole time.
Yeah.
He's like hair braided, and I don't know if he's Native American or not. Buffalo Bill Cody obviously was took a lot of his cues from the Native American community and like was friendly with them and employed a lot of them. So like I felt like that was like a very intentional choice, but also maybe racist. I don't know. Oh God, speaking of choices and being maybe racist, the toxic masculinity and homophobia that is so fucking present in this movie.
It's very of its time, for sure.
It is.
Yeah. I did laugh at some of the jokes where, for example, what's crazy is I thought this movie was generally pretty funny, but it didn't, like you said with the question, like, who is this for? And I think if they really nailed the vibe and if they would have kept it consistent for who it was for, then I think they could have had something along the lines of like a Zoolander type situation, or even an Austin Powers.
Right.
But instead it just came off as very hokey.
Yeah, it wasn't clear if it was a spoof or if it was genuine. It wasn't clear if these guys are super fan guys. So basically, their characters don't understand the difference between kayfabe and real life stuff. After the King got screwed over in his in the match that like opens the movie, they go looking for him because they're like, oh, our favorite wrestler was like torn down and torn apart, and He needs to like reclaim his place as the king of wrestling. Also, Oliver Platt in this role is a choice. I understand that his character is basically Jerry the King Lawler.
Yes.
But Jerry Lawler was only like 50 when this movie came out. He should have just played himself. Oliver Platt.
Well, Jerry Lawler was
is
also
a
working
great
for a different
actor.
company.
I know. Oliver Platt is a great actor.
Oh, it's great. I love the gimmick that they had him have, where he's the king.
He's not believable.
I will rule you. You had them going,
I
rule us.
But this is what I'm saying. Like, so they track him down, and they're finding out that he's not this great guy. Nothing that they knew about him from TV or from his published autobiographies is actually true. His shoot life, his wife left him, or he left his wife and his kid, and he's a horrible person, and he's an alcoholic, and he's destitute, and he stole his parents' Winnebago, and like, but they don't. These are adult men,
right?
Who can't acknowledge these facts and still believe that he is his fictional character. It's very confusing. And then,
the direction they should have gone with a lot of this to make, like, because I think there's a good movie here underneath, but instead they chose to make the main characters very stupid. They chose to portray an entire fan base as very stupid. They chose to portray wrestlers as fucking stupid. And that's very insulting. And you know what? Very apt of WCW at the time, where they're telling us their company is shitty all the time. You're stupid for watching it. You're stupid for believing in it and liking this. What the hell is wrong with you? And they're telling us that throughout the movie, as well as the actual show.
Here's the thing. As the wrestling stories progress, they are telling great wrestling stories, actually. Like, I would have been super invested in this storyline as a wrestling fan if this was what was being presented on television. However, they're continuing to blur. They shoot themselves into a work that it's not a work. It's like a real match. The promoter is like, okay, if you win this match, you'll get your title back and you'll get $1 million. But the end of this match is not predetermined. He actually goes and he gets trained to wrestle. Oh, Martin Landau is the fucking trainer, by the way. What the fuck?
I liked his character a lot. He was funny.
Oh, the character.
He's basically Stu Hart.
He's so good. He's so good.
Yeah. You had Sid Vicious and Perry Saturn break into his home, and he's such a smart wrestler and worker that he can fool these bozos of Sid Vicious and Perry Saturn and beat them up and
But I'm just so confused. So like, the promoter books this match with real stakes, and then with real stakes, and the match is like a shoot match. Okay. So the culmination, the match, it's in Vegas at the MGM Grand Arena, which I've been to for Double or Nothing, which is just crazy. The stipulation of this match is a 3-tiered cage, which I kind of love.
Do you know that they will do an actual 3-tier cage on Nitro soon?
I know it's coming up.
It's coming.
My question is, was it created for the movie, or had they ever done it before the movie?
They hadn't done it before the movie. They're going to do it because of the movie.
Okay. Honestly, it kind of works for me.
It can work. And just like okay, let's change the movie's perspective where everything's actually real. If they would just had done that, so much is immediately better. Because then there's a lot of things that just do not make sense will make sense because it's quote unquote real, right? Or if they go fully on the everyone knows it's fake and it's fake, then they have to
Smart mark. Mm-hmm.
then they have to make things make sense in that aspect where to force that it's fake. So, for example, this like a key scene in the movie is when Arquette, Scott Caan, and Jimmy King break into the arena to jump DDP and the promoter. In the whole idea behind that is just to beat them up, right? If it's fake, which they're telling us it is, then the promoter and all they have to do is beat the shit out of them and say, get the fuck out of here, right?
Yep.
And then the movie can progress with the idea of we have to get them in a situation where the fans want the match. They keep like breaking into these things and forcing them to make the match when they don't have a choice. That's one direction they could go. Or we admit that everything is quote unquote real the whole time, in which then that scene is fine the way it is. Because then it's real and the promoter wants to get rid of them. He can't actually fire him because there's real contracts involved, blah, blah, blah. We get all that. Instead, because we're blurring the lines, now a perfectly okay scene now has a ton of holes in it, and you're treating us and the fans as stupid, and you're also admitting your main characters are also fucking stupid, along with everyone else in the cast admitting to that.
Yeah. But like I said, if they had committed to it being
one way or the
real,
other, they had to pick one. You can't do both.
One way or the other. Great wrestling story. Honestly, really fucking great. DDP is amazing in this movie, by the way.
He's way too good for this movie.
Yeah.
He's so good. Yeah.
He's so good. And if nothing else came of this movie, he now has a SAG card. Sid Vicious has a SAG card. Anybody that had a speaking line now has a SAG card, and they now have health benefits. So if nothing else came of this movie,
yeah, I mean a lot of memes come out of this movie. You could throw a bunch of gifs on there. I do it all the time. This movie does. It's weird because I didn't care for it when I was younger, because it like didn't really click with me because of the whole work shoot aspect. When you're 12, you don't care about that stuff. All it's doing is ruining your experience as a child, right? It's like telling us constantly Santa's not real. It's like, okay, just let me believe, please.
Yeah.
And now I'm an adult. I'm going, man, I think this movie came out in the wrong era at the wrong time and doing the wrong things.
I disagree. I feel like this is the only era that this movie could have come out. Again, it comes off the successes of American Pie and Road Trip, Euro Trip. It's kind of this hero's quest. It's sort of a hero's quest movie, coming of age, teen shenanigans. So I feel like it's the right era. I feel like it's the right promotion. I feel like it wouldn't work, WWE wouldn't have shelled out for it, and AEW couldn't shell out for it now. Like, the idea of doing a wrestling movie was right, and I think they had a lot of good ideas.
Yeah, let's see. The budget was $24 million. I mean, pretty low budget when you think about it.
Yeah. So honestly, one of my Twitter friends, Nick Gosser, who is the promoter of Lucha Libre Laughs. So earlier when I was watching the movie, I posted that I was watching the movie, and then I had a lot of thoughts. And Nick Gosser summed it up perfectly in his reply. I'm going to read this verbatim. Are you ready to hear what Nick Gosser had to say? Because this is exactly what I came here to say, and he just said it better than I could because he's so eloquent.
Okay. Nick
Gosser said, "It's a truly most baffling movie, which is apropos when you realize that WCW produced it. They make their own brand look like a dirt league shit show while trying to hype their own brand. and try to appeal to fans by making them look like idiotic man children.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what we've been saying this whole time, too, yeah.
I could not sum it up better. That is exactly what I thought from the beginning. Again, who is it for? It makes WCW look like crap. It makes WCW fans look like crap. Why would you want to watch our show when all of our fans are idiots? Like, there were a lot of positives. And like, if you're watching WCW at the time, which we are, basically, it was really fun to be like, oh, I know that guy. I know that guy. I know that guy. He's showing up. Sting, I thought, was great. So towards the end of the movie, the promoter dude tells Sting, stop Oliver Platt, stop the king from winning, at all costs. And in the moment, Sting being Sting, the forever babyface, turns on the promoter, right, and helps the king win.
Right.
And he was good. He had a couple lines, and he was,
Yeah, I meant to mention this earlier because there's there's a line in there where Sting does the save, and then Arquette and Can go, "Oh, we love you, man," just like two platonic dudes, of course, like things like that.
Right.
I mean, we wouldn't love each other as dudes, but I love you, man. And Sting's like, look at him and go, what the fuck are you saying?
And then he punches him in the face.
Yeah, he just goes, bah!
Expressing his
Starcat goes, punch me too!
I thought that them expressing their platonic love to another man was actually a big come around point until Sting punched them in the face for it. I was like, what are we doing here?
Well, they were being super weird because there's a couple times in there, like when they first find the king and where he lives, they're like on his doorstep going, "We're real big fans." It's like, oh my god, yes, get out of there! Throw the beer bottle at their head.
Yeah, because they're morons.
Right, they're dumb and they're weird and they're creepy and yeah, punch them in the face, throw beer bottles at their head.
There were a couple times, though, or I guess maybe just in that final match, where Tony Schiavone is on commentary for all of the Nitro and the pay-per-view matches.
Poor guy.
And and Tony Schiavone does, "It's Sting!" And it made my day. That made my day.
Yeah, if they would have done more things like that of what made people like WCW, it would have been a better movie. Yeah, you're the promoter out of Denver there was absolutely right. It's a movie that makes WCW looks like a dirt league schoolyard, and all their fans are dumb. Yeah.
If it wasn't for that, or if it wasn't produced by WCW, if it was produced by a major studio that actually thought that way about wrestling fans, I would get it. But yeah, I had fun. I had never seen it before. I probably won't watch it again for another 20 years. But I had fun. I'm glad I've seen it.
It's certainly an experience, and there's a lot of laughs to have coming out of it because it's so absurd and not good. But things like Macho Man being the bone saw in it, and DDP's so good, being a dirtbag Jersey guy.
Oh my, he's so good. DDP is so good in this. It's stupid. I'm surprised he didn't get more legit acting roles after this movie. Although it was terrible. Probably nobody saw it. So
nobody did see it. They lost a ton of money, just like WCW losing a ton of money during this time.
Yeah. So it was the right era for this movie. It was the wrong time, right? WCW's on a downturn right now. If it had come out 2 years earlier, I think it would have done a lot better.
Yeah, if it came out in like 98, I think it would have been written differently. They could have maybe gotten Hogan involved in it, made him a main character type bad guy. Yeah, then they could have really leaned into the work aspect of it more. But here's the thing. Wrestling fans don't want that. You want the illusion that it's real at all times.
Yes.
So you could have done some dirtbag thing with Hogan just going to like a Bischoff-like promoter and just going, I don't want the match, brother. It doesn't work for me. Book something else. You don't have to make it 100% work shoot. You can make it seem like he's just a dirtbag main eventer that wants to get out of all the hard matches kind of deal.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Anyways.
Well, again, I had fun.
It was fun.
Jason watched it with me. Oh my God, we had to pause it at one point though because okay. So they're filming a backstage segment for Nitro. It's the promoter and DDP.
Oh yeah.
The promoter says to the camera guy, "Okay, here's how I want this shot to look. I want you to start tight on the belt and then zoom out to show that it's me and it's DDP." And then they're like, "Okay, 3, 2, 1, go!" And it just starts on a wide shot.
Right? They do none of that. It's like, oh my God,
just said it.
So WCW, they are incompetent, right?
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh my God. We paused it because we had this. Yeah, we needed to fucking take it all in. It is so WCW of the time. If you've been enjoying our reviews of WCW, if you've been enjoying watching 2000s WCW along with us, please, please, please watch this movie if you haven't already.
Yeah.
Rewatch it if you have.
It's free to watch on Tubi. You can watch it for free right now. There's a free copy out on YouTube that's easily watchable as well.
I'm so glad we decided to watch it this week. It fits in so perfectly with our rewatch. Again, like you said, they were doing a recap episode on Nitro this week anyway, and the movie came out this week, like chronologically of our rewatch. So,
yeah, and it's almost 24 years to the date that it came out as well.
Yeah, it is. It's nuts. It's nuts. I'm so glad we came up with this plan. I'm so glad I saw it. It's not good. No. I don't recommend it as a film, but I recommend it if you know anything about wrestling and bad wrestling promotions.
Yeah. All right, so that'll do it for this episode. We're going to continue on Nitro in the next one, and I guess you'll hear about WrestleMania Fallout in the next episode.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. We're watching WrestleMania, right? Like, I usually watch.
I catch a couple things. I mean, I know what happens, so.
Know what happens?
Yeah.
Is Cody going to finish the story?
I mean, they're sure not booking it to seem like it is, as in all the top matches aren't happening. Cody the Rock isn't happening. Roman Rock isn't happening. McIntyre Punk isn't happening. And those are all the things that they're building to.
We'll see. I'm excited. WrestleMania always feels like a big deal. Oh, you're going to be in Philly. That's right.
Yeah.
So yeah, go to a watch party, I guess, or watch it at the hotel. I don't know. I think we'll just, steal it and watch it at home. But yeah. Awesome.
Okay, that does it for this episode.
Next time.
See you guys.
Bye.